Hello, my name is Kirsten Wills and I am AASCU's Government Relations Coordinator. Thank you for joining me today as we go over some tips on what to do before and after meeting with your member of Congress. So let's go ahead and dive right in. When meeting with your member of Congress, research and preparation is the #1 key to ensuring a successful meeting. It is hands down the most important thing that you can do. Constituents actually have a fair amount of sway on their legislators, especially when they come prepared with facts. According to Face to Face with Congress, a report from the Congressional Management Foundation, most of the congressional staff surveyed said constituent visits to the Washington, D.C. office at 97% and to the district and state office at 94% have some or a lot of influence on an undecided legislator, more than any other strategy for communicating with a member of Congress. The new 118th Congress is made up of 82 freshman members, 75 in the House and 7 in the Senate. That's 15% of the entire Congress. As these freshman members get their bearings, they will seek to find informed policy guidance from constituent stakeholders and their colleagues. This is an opportune time to get to know them, their backgrounds, and what issues are of personal interest. So in its entirety, who are the members of the 118th Congress? Well, it's made up of a record number of women, about 28%. This Congress also varies greatly by age, with one of the youngest U.S. representatives ever elected at age 25 and one of the longest serving senators at age 89. The 118th Congress is also the most racially and ethnically diverse in U.S. history. It has 133 members who identify as people of color. To put that in perspective, the 108th Congress, which was sworn in 20 years ago, had just 67 members who were people of color. The 118th Congress has 97 members who served in the U.S. military. Nearly all members of the 118th Congress have a bachelor's degree, but not all of them. And most have a graduate degree, but not all of them. Over 70 members of the House have attended and or graduated from Regional Comprehensive University, or RCU, institutions. Around 20 senators have also graduated or attended RCU institutions. This could be your own institution or maybe your neighboring one, but doing your research can definitely help to understand that background. Their education, career path, their connection to your community, these details are all really important. Knowing your member's background can give you an insight as to what issues might be so important to them. This may also translate to their committee assignments, through which an office may tailor their questions and policy interests. For example, a member on the Agricultural Committee may have a stronger interest in rural development or student SNAP benefits, whereas a member of the Judiciary Committee may be more concerned with free speech and safety on your campus. There are a few ways to learn about your elected officials before your meeting, but you can start by looking at their official congressional website, which generally contains their biographical information, press releases, a section on policy issues of particular interest, and information about their committee assignments. Congressional websites also frequently include information on legislation that the senator or representative has sponsored or co-sponsored. However, Congress.gov is also a great tool for searching congressional bills. You can also do a quick Google search to look up recent national, state, and local news or media coverage of your member. Another resource, and one of the most personal ones, is your members' social media pages, such as Twitter and Facebook, to review recent statements or issues of interest to them. Most often, these accounts are run by their staff, but sometimes the members may tweet or post from them as well. You can find all of these links to these resources and more in our advocacy AASCU toolkit. We also have our issue one-pagers posted on our website that can serve as a resource on policy issues before your meeting. Feel free to also use your colleagues as a resource. Most congressional offices often do not take meetings unless there are constituents present or the institution's reach affects their own district. So if you're in a meeting with other college and university leaders, whether that's in the House or the Senate side, we encourage you to take some time to connect with them and plan out your meeting structure, possible stories to share, relevant data and talking points, and most importantly, who will make the policy ask. Prior to the event, AASCU will email you with your meeting details as well as the names and contact information of other institutions in your Senate meetings and ensure that there is enough time before and during event programming to connect with your colleagues. As we mentioned in other trainings, if you have not told us separately, AASCU is planning to schedule your meetings for you. If you have any questions about this, you can reach out to us at govrel@aascu.org. An event FAQ, including specifics on how meeting scheduling will work, can also be found on our website. And outside of AASCU on the Hill, more tips for self-scheduling meetings can be found within our toolkit once it's updated post-event. Finally, we have these wonderful branded congressional directories, or as we often refer to them as congressional Facebooks. Inside contains every member of Congress, their photo, brief bio, current committees, and staff contacts. We'll be distributing these at the event free of charge, so please take advantage and grab one. So the last slide contained a lot of information about all of the background that you'll need to gather about your member of Congress, but this slide contains the heart of what you'll need to share for a successful meeting. Before you go, it is imperative that you gather information on the impact federal programs have on your campus, your students, and your community at large. You'll want to share data, anecdotes, and student stories that really speak to the students and communities your institution serves, as the first generation, the low income, and the new majority. As your member of Congress as a public servant to the community, you should be ready to discuss the broader needs of your communities, how your institution is adapting and responding to those needs, and working to benefit the broader public. This may include gathering data about your institution, everything from the number of jobs on your campus, to local workforce needs, to student academic and career outcomes. You may also want to know the last time the office engaged with your office and your school and your institution. It's a good idea to give the office a quick update on what's happened on your campus since then. The Congressional Office may also have questions about what funding your institution has received in recent years. While they may not ask, because it's been a few years, it's good to at least be prepared to answer questions about how much higher education emergency relief funding, HERF 1, 2, and 3, as well as institutional aid and earmark funding your school has received. That includes community project funding from House members and congressionally directed spending from your senators. What that funding was received for and what it was spent on. Along the lines of federal funds, you'll also want to have student-specific information on hand, so the average number of Pell Grants, work study, and student loans per student. Regardless of political leanings, offices will want to have specific institutional and local information. So if you have information specific to your campus, including student demographics, enrollment trends, and breakdown of that student aid, that will make for a really powerful pitch. Personal anecdotes can also make a big difference in the success of your meetings. So planning to back up your policy asks with relevant stories can make them more compelling. Remember to make them personal, but also strength-based. Strength-based stories that focus on challenges rather than the impossible roadblocks allow for the emphasis on value and outline the great work that your campuses are doing in spite of the things that are out of your control. For example, when crafting stories, you can think about how have different policies made our campus stronger? How has our institution adapted to community changes or challenges? And what does student success look like on our campus? Strong stories will stick in your legislator's mind and may be some of the most memorable and compelling parts of the meeting. For more tips on student advocacy and storytelling, you can check out that page on our toolkit. You did all the preparation. What can you expect during the meeting? You actually won't find tips on what to do expect during the meeting in this training, but I highly encourage you to check out our other mini training on meeting do's and don'ts recorded by my wonderful colleague and AASCU's Director of Federal Relations and Policy Analysis, John Patrick Walsh. So head on over there to learn more. So you've done the meeting, and what can you expect after? Also, why should you follow up? You did the hard work with all the preparation, that's true, and the actual meeting itself, but the follow-up is actually crucial to maintaining a continued relationship with your legislator's office. You only have that short 15 to 20 minute window to get your point across at a meeting, and congressional offices can have a dozen and more meetings in a single day. The follow-up keeps your meeting and your issues top of mind for the office. If you watch the meeting do's and don'ts training, you will hopefully have not forgotten to get the staff's business cards at the end of the meeting. You will always want to follow up with the staffer with whom you met with, and they will forward your information on, if needed, to more senior education staffers. If you have questions about who to follow up with specifically in an office and you need their contact information, you can contact AASCU and we're able to pull this for you. Now, there are a few key things you'll want to mention in your follow-up. First, you'll want to reiterate a thank you for taking the time to speak with you. Then you'll want to remind them of your main talking points during the meeting and some of the issues that you spoke about. Make sure to hit on your specific policy asks. Attach the digital one-pagers again for the office's reference. Again, you can find these on our website. We recommend, if you are self-scheduling your meetings, we recommend that you send these out before your meeting to the office. If we're scheduling your meetings for you, we are more than happy to send these out on your behalf. But definitely make sure that you send them out following the meeting. Hopefully, you will also have taken notes during the meeting of any outstanding questions the staffers may have had. This is where you'll want to follow up with answers, data points, reports, etc. It is always better to be honest about not having information during a meeting and get back to the office with the correct answer later, rather than wasting time thinking through a complex answer during a meeting, or worse, giving them the wrong information. Finally, you'll want to be specific and to the point. In your response, don't draft a whole novel. You may do this in your initial follow-up or as correspondence with the office continues, but you'll want to give the elected official an opportunity to connect again and learn more about your institution. If you have an event coming up that you'd like to host them for, that's great. If not, and although it's a little ways away with back to school season starting in August, as well as congressional recess, that's also a really great time to invite your member of Congress for a campus tour. The most important aspect of the follow-up is that you continue to stay in touch and maintain a strong rapport with the office. In your communications, offer to be a continued resource. If the office has questions about student experiences, institutional information, or specific legislative and regulatory matters. As a campus leader, offer to be a subject matter expert where applicable. Finally, in our increasingly digital world, social media can be a supplementary follow-up tool that is great and quick and easy to engage with your member's office. Feel free to use Facebook, LinkedIn, or the platform most congressional offices are on, Twitter, and tweet your member's congressional account, thank them for the meeting, and attach a photo if you took one. Again, hopefully you asked for consent before taking the photo at the conclusion of the meeting. Sharing about your meeting publicly also reminds the office that they are accountable to follow up on the commitments they made to you or get information on questions that they had. Feel free to check out more tips on social media and advocacy on our toolkit, and don't forget to include the event hashtag AASCU on the Hill. I went over the majority of tips you should do in the last slide, so I'll just go over some things that you should avoid. When following up, please do so by email, either directly to the staff or making sure that the staff is copied. Following up with a handwritten message by letter is wonderful and very personal. It is a great supplementary idea. The office may appreciate it, but only if you send a note through the postal service, and that's your only method of communication. It may take ages to get to them. By the time they do, they may have forgotten about the details of your meeting. So time is on your side when following up. Try to send that follow-up response within 1 to 3 business days of your initial meeting, so it keeps the contents of the meeting fresh in their minds, and do so via email. I mentioned the importance of keeping in touch, and that's to avoid the yearly drop-in. Only touching base with an office once a year with policy asks, needless to say, isn't the best for relationship building. Keep the office up to date on what's going on with your campus, and again, that includes inviting them to events, maybe offer them access to your campus newsletter, and just generally keep them updated. Do not be vague or redundant in your follow-up. Keep it short, keep it sweet, but make sure you're answering those lingering questions as directly and honestly as you can. Congress members and their staff are busy, and so are their email inboxes, so you'll want to make sure that your email message is compelling and holds their attention throughout. With that said, avoid sending huge attachments, 20-page PDFs if you're able to. It's good to give the office access to resources and data, but you don't want to overwhelm them with too much information. And as we get to the end of this presentation here, I'd like to share out some resources to continue your advocacy post-AASCU on the Hill. Many of these resources and opportunities are linked within our toolkit, but we will be launching our Advocacy Center on the Policy and Advocacy tab on our new website immediately following the event, and there you'll be able to engage with some action alerts, look up your legislators, track important legislation that we're following, among many other things, and give us your perspective on different policy issues. Don't forget to leverage those existing relationships within the offices locally and at the state level or the federal level, because you never know what role someone may step into next. So continue to, practicing your advocacy at all levels of government. We talked about inviting your member of Congress to campus as well during summer recess. Along those lines, it's a good idea to keep up with congressional schedules to know when your officials will be in district and assess if there's any overlap with campus or community events. You can find those links within our toolkit. You can also Google House and Senate schedules. If you've enjoyed this training and you want to keep in touch with AASCU's GR team, here are some contact methods. You can also catch us every other month for our government relations webinars where we go over policy updates, advocacy tips, and more. So keep an eye out for those future emails. Our email is there if you'd like to engage with us, govrel@ascu.org, and that is also our Twitter handle if you'd like to tweet us. This presentation was brought to you by AASCU's Government Relations and Policy Analysis Division. I'm Kirsten Wills. I am the Government Relations Coordinator once again. These are my colleagues, John Patrick Walsh and Luis Maldonado. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact us. Our information is also available on our website. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy day. You'll be able to find this training on our YouTube page when we conclude here and have it linked for future reference. And you can also check out many of the resources I mentioned, including the advocacy toolkit on our website. Please email us with any and all advocacy or event-related questions. Thanks again, and have a great day.